how to troubleshoot Microsoft Swiftkey flow. From this post on Reddit, gave the user the suggestion to use pointer location to swipe his words or her words and then go back and look at video to see what they were doing. And here they responded back and said it worked. I'm going to show you how you do that. Okay, here I'm just showing you the pointer location in developer options. You need to toggle this on. We're going to flow word, we're going to get word. Now this is what you will see after you flow a word. And every time you flow another word, it'll clear and record the next continuous swipe. Record as long as you are touching the screen as you move. So here I went from W over to O, and I would like to have started in the O and kept things about in the middle of the keys. Then I came back across to the R and then a sharp 45 down to the D. And that gives me word. So here are some arrows to show you what happened. And the closer you can get your technique to that, the better things will work out for you. So this green means that if you start anywhere within this area, then you could potentially have the W show up for you. It depends on where you go to next. And so here we're going all the way across to the O. So it would look at any word that falls within these boundaries. But WO, since we're in the middle, it's going to pick up on those as the key thing we're doing. And we're coming back over to the R and then down to the D. And we have the boundaries around the O, anywhere within this area, anywhere within this area around the R, and anywhere in this area for the D. So you don't have to be exact, but the more precise you are, the more likely you are to have the words you are going after suggested. If the possibility exists that more words could be suggested, well, it's going to be the closest ones that you came to that will be your suggested words. You can only suggest 3 words, the most likely and then 2 possibles. So now we're going to flow word and get weird. We'll see why. Again, you can see the trace starting at the W, but instead of going to the O, it ends at I, turns back around, almost comes to R, and then down to the D. So there we go. W to I back to R down to D. So that flows over the letters that would give us weird. Now, it also suggests word. And that's because everything falls within those rules we just mentioned with the boundaries. And it's not as accurately swiped as weird would be. Thus, it's coming up as a suggested word. You see, wired is also suggested. And again, if you follow the path, you'll see that following the rules, you can get wired because you actually get all of the letters with the exception of the E. So it felt like that was a good suggestion. This was one they were having issue with. And you can see it's just a 45 up, pretty easy. But they were getting this. So I decided to flow Nina and see, look at the trace and see what it looks like and try to determine how could they have gotten that. This is what it looks like. Up, I swirl around on the E to indicate that I want 2 E's. And then I come back down to the N. Then I go over to the A and to the H. Now there are potentially some other words that could come up, but it didn't show any. It only picked this word. And I had typed and swiped this word a few times. And I got to thinking, well, if the user, instead of starting at the B, started at the N and went up to E, and that was all they did, then maybe they've been typing this word or swiping this word a lot. It just kind of came up as a suggested word, as NE would not be a word. It could have also probably suggested B would be my thought, that if they did that, they would have also had that as a suggestion. Let's look at this with the arrows. Swipe up, and you see the technique I think is pretty good there. Swirl around. I'm a little to the left of where I'd like to be, but I'm still over the E key. And coming back down to the N, you see I started in the center of the N and I came down and just a little through the N and up, and then I had to turn and go over to the A. And that's okay. And then back over to H. So understanding the rules and words that you float a lot are going to be suggested, along with common words that it may pick up on. Thus, the most important thing is the better your technique, the more likely you are to get suggested the word that you are after. It's a very accurate method of entering into the keyboard, especially once you've got a good technique down. The thing that you can do here with the trace that is created is you can look and see if you're consistently falling short, maybe going to your left, you get short on things. And that's because the keyboard that you're working with is wider than maybe a keyboard that you just came from. So your muscle memory is sending you over further. And the same thing with height, up. So you can see with this keyboard, it's kind of shoved to the right a little bit. And that's because I have it in one hand mode. I swipe in one hand mode. So this is pushed to the right slightly. And you can adjust the width and height of these keyboards. That's the nice thing about Swiftkey is you can make it closer to what you've been using on other devices. That's how you use pointer location to troubleshoot flow. Thanks for watching.